This is the Stingray Show, and coming up on this edition, we're going to continue with a patriotic show with a wide receiver who played from 1995 through 1998 and then became a graduate assistant at Hawaii and had coaching stops at Arizona State, Buffalo, Georgia Southern, Navy, Georgia Tech, and then became the head coach at Georgia Southern, and now he is at Army. Jeff Monken, the head coach of the Army Black Knights, will join us on this edition of the Stingray Show to continue our patriotic shows of this week.
Hi, this is Tim Brando with a reminder. Those of you on Tide 100.9, look out. You're about to feel the buzz of Stingray.
And with that, I want to welcome you inside yet another patriotic show right here on the Stingray Show. Right off the top of the show, we talked about some of his coaching stops, and Jeff Monken has also had a record of 120 wins over his coaching career, and the most impressive stat is that he is 5-1 in FBS bowl games and was a part of the transition from Georgia Southern of going from the FCS up to the FBS. Please help us welcome to the Stingray Show the main man behind the Army Black Knights, Mr. Coach Jeff Monken. Coach, how are things with you, sir?
Stingray, I appreciate it. Things are going well. I want to start off some clarification. You said I was a wide receiver.
Right.
Let's just call it like it is. I was a wide blocker.
Okay.
So I played with some guys that did a great job receiving the passes. They didn't ask me to do that much. I was about a 5-flat wide blocker from Millikan University, and you did just what I've been trying to do my whole life is portray myself as much younger than I am. I actually played from 1985 to 1988.
Right.
But I still tell people I'm 39. I feel 39, so things are going great. We just had our new freshmen, our plebes, report to campus for cadet basic training here at West Point yesterday. So it's an exciting day. We had obviously our players that are going to be joining us, but their classmates in the West Point class of 2029 came with their family and friends and aunts and uncles and grandparents and brothers and sisters, and just the pride to see those families sending their sons and daughters here to West Point. It was awesome. So like everybody else, we got workouts going this summer with our team, and eagerly anticipating the start of preseason camp, which is under a month now. So looking forward to that.
So, Coach, you were talking with me before we started that you have been to Tuscaloosa and your daughter is thinking about coming down here. Talk about that just for a second.
Well, my number 2 daughter is exploring colleges, and one of those is the University of Alabama. So she and my wife took a tour this past weekend and really enjoyed it. As you know, it's a great college town. It's an incredible institution. She grew up in a football family, so to see the stadium and to see the importance of football there in Tuscaloosa, I think just that certainly caught her eye. But I've been there more than a couple of times. I've been through their recruiting, and so I just think it's a great place, a great town. There's one visit there that we made in 2011 that I'd rather not remember. I was the head coach at Georgia Southern, and the Tide beat the pants off of us on a Saturday afternoon. But what an incredible experience for our players, and even got to eat some of the greatest ribs on the face of the planet at Dreamland while I was there. So it wasn't a complete loss.
Hey, Coach, ain't nothing like them nowhere.
You said it.
So, Coach, what is it like at coaching for you at both Army and Navy? Because you did both.
Well, the only blemish on my resume is coaching at that other academy. So I finally figured out where to properly position ourselves in this rivalry. It's just a thrill to be the coach here. A great honor and privilege for me to serve in this way. I didn't serve in the military, and I think as I've grown and matured, it probably is one of the great regrets that I have in my life that I didn't serve on active duty. But in a way, this is my opportunity to serve, to educate, train, and inspire these young men, these cadets, to be leaders of character, to serve our nation. Mm-hmm. It's an awesome responsibility, and really one of the major reasons I wanted to come here. I loved being the coach at Georgia Southern. I love Georgia Southern. It's an incredible program, a winning program. What Irk Russell built there and created, the expectations, I mean, it is awesome. And I didn't think I'd ever leave there, but this was a calling, and to be able to come here and build the Army program and build leaders through this program, this platform of college sports. I mean, you just don't get many opportunities like that in your life. There's not a whole lot of coaches that share the responsibility that we have to prepare men and women to serve as military officers, and so it continues to be just a thrill for me, for our staff, to be a part in the development of these young men and women and our players to serve as Army officers.
So, Coach, you got your first coaching opportunity as a graduate assistant at Hawaii. What was that experience like of coaching for you at Hawaii?
Man, I'm not sure. In a lot of ways, it wasn't the best experience I've had in coaching. I was 22 years old, a fresh college graduate. The receivers coach out there at the time, Buzz Preston, had been an assistant at Southern Illinois University. My dad and four of my uncles, my dad's four brothers, were all head high school coaches in the state of Illinois while I was growing up. And Buzz had recruited the whole state, knew all my dad and all my uncles. And so when I was looking for a GA job, I met Buzz at the National Coaches Convention as a senior in college, and I didn't have to do anything else. He did all the talking and convinced Coach Bob Wagner, who was the coach at Hawaii at the time, to hire me as a graduate assistant. And man, what an experience! Paul Johnson was the offensive coordinator at Hawaii at the time, so that was my connection to him. And ultimately, he hired me 8 years later to join him as an assistant at Georgia Southern, and I was with him for 13 years. And without that experience, I wouldn't have been the coach at Georgia Southern. I wouldn't be the coach here at Army. And so I was very, very fortunate to have that opportunity. I will tell you that, ironically, my senior year in college, I was trying to get GA jobs, and so I interviewed for a GA job at the University of Alabama. And my dad and I drove from Joliet, Illinois to Tuscaloosa. There was an assistant named Jim Fuller at the time who did the interview, and I didn't know crap. I mean, I'm 22 years old and a Division III player, and anyway, I got offered the job at Hawaii and accepted. And then I know they wanted to hire some other folks. They had some other guys that some high school coaches, guys a little more experienced, they were going to hire. Well, that kind of fell through, and Jim called me about 2 weeks after I took the Hawaii job and said, "Hey, would you be interested in coming to Alabama?" I told him I had accepted a job at Hawaii. He goes, "You need to hang up the phone right now and go to Hawaii." He goes, "That sounds incredible." So that was good advice. I had a great, though being, having an opportunity to be at Alabama would have been special. Just for my career, it worked out so well for me. And sometimes God has a way of placing you where you need to be. And I think that was the case at that time.
So, Coach, after Hawaii, you went to Arizona State, Buffalo, and Georgia Southern. What were some of your highlights from those three next stops?
I'll tell you, I had some great experience as a young coach. And in this profession, we're famous for moving around as coaches.
Right.
And, like a traveling circus, we fold up the tents and move on to the next town. And, coaches move a lot. And when I was young, I moved a lot. I was a GA at Hawaii for 2 years. That was back in the day when there was a rule that you could only be a graduate assistant for 2 years at one school. So I took a graduate assistant job at Arizona State, and I worked for just a great head coach in Larry Marmee, and I learned so much from him. I worked with 5 NFL head coaches in 1 year. So I was on the staff with Larry Marmee in the fall, and then Bruce Snyder came in and took the job in the spring. And I worked with 5 future NFL coaches, head coaches, in about an 11-month span, which, I mean, what an experience. That was great for me. I learned a lot. I got my first full-time job at the University of Buffalo. Ton of responsibility. We weren't very good. That was we were making a move from Division III to 1AA, so transitioning that far up the ladder was a little challenging, but a great experience for me to have the opportunity to take on all that responsibility, be a position coach, be the recruiting coordinator, have a recruiting area. And I worked with Dave Clawson, who great head coach at Wake Forest, and so I had the fortune of working with him, and he and I are still friends. And then we all got let go from that job deservingly. We weren't getting it done, so I took a head high school job in Illinois, and that's my home. So I certainly tried the college route. Their jobs are hard to get, and I took a head high school job, which wasn't what I wanted, but it turns out that it was just a great experience for me to do that and to coach at that level and get a different perspective. And so I did that for a year, and I was the offensive line coach at Concordia University, which is a small Division III school in the western suburbs of Chicago. And then Paul Johnson threw me a lifeline and offered me an opportunity to come to Georgia Southern, starting in the 1997 season when he took the job. And I guess what they say, the rest is history. But I really had some great experiences as a young coach, and you learn things to do, you learn things not to do, and make a lot of mistakes. And I regret making those mistakes, because obviously when you don't do a good job coaching, or you make poor decision in recruiting, it affects a lot of other people. But I think that gave me an appreciation and a background for my opportunities that followed.
So, Coach Monken, in 2010, you became the head coach of Georgia Southern. How did that opportunity come about for you?
When I was an assistant for Coach Johnson at Georgia Southern, 1997 to 2001, those 5 seasons, our team and Coach Johnson led us to 62 victories in 5 seasons. That's with a 62.
Right.
52 wins in the last 4 years. So we won 10 our first year, and then we won 14, 13, 13, and 12. Coach Johnson, just an incredible football coach.
Right.
And I had a great experience there. Made a lot of friends, befriended people that still are at Georgia Southern and still in Statesboro from the time when I was an assistant coach there. And I loved Georgia Southern, loved my experience there. and just thought if there would ever be an opportunity for me to come back as the head coach, that I would just cherish that opportunity. Well, I went with Coach Johnson, and as you had mentioned earlier, we went to another academy and then went to Georgia Tech, and so the opportunity came about, and Georgia Southern contacted me and asked if I'd be interested in talking with them about being the head coach, and it wasn't an interest. I was ready to go there and be the head coach immediately. They didn't have to convince me. I was hoping I could convince them.
Right.
And fortunately, it worked out. And the athletics director, who had been there when I was there with Paul, Sam Baker, was still the athletics director, and he hired me. And so I had a chance to go back there in 2010, and man, what an incredible experience. And as I said, I love Georgia Southern, and that opportunity to go there and be the coach, they could have given that job to anybody. It's a great job. It's a great place. And fortunately, they thought I was worthy of being the coach there, and the success we had there, and that opportunity, and what I learned about being a head coach gave me the opportunity to come here and have success at Army.
So, Coach Monken, during your time there at Georgia Southern, you guys were able to knock off the SEC powerhouse Florida in the Swamp 26-20. Talk about that incredible upset of Georgia Southern over the Florida Gators.
That season was a real challenge for us. 2010, 11, and 12, we were an FCS program and had gone to the FCS semifinals. And for people that swim in the SEC waters and FBS football, not a whole lot of attention is paid to those FCS playoffs. Yeah. But for those of us that were a part of that, that's a big deal. And it means a lot to the fan bases, and it certainly did at Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern is home to 6 FCS national championships, and I will assure you that there is a tremendous sense of pride about those 6 flags that hang over that stadium for the national championships. I was a part of 2 of those with Paul Johnson, and I mean just an awesome experience. But we went to the semifinals 3 times, and then we made the transition before my final season, 2013, to FBS, which makes the program ineligible for the postseason for 2 years. So we weren't eligible for the FCS playoffs. We weren't eligible for a bowl game.
Right.
And we frankly had a very difficult time, and I did a poor job. It was my responsibility of motivating that team to play just for the pride of winning.
Right.
We weren't eligible to win the conference championship, and we struggled. We struggled that year. We were 4-4 in what would have been conference games in the Southern Conference. We went into the Florida game, which was the final game of the season. We were 6-4, and you're staring down an SEC team that's got 5-star prospects, and you're going to go play in a 80 or 90,000 seat stadium, whatever it is, against a very talented football team. But what we had was we had Georgia Southern.
Yes.
And when Georgia Southern plays a football game, I really believe that team, Georgia Southern, believes that it's supposed to win when they play a football game. They do. There's something that's woven into the fabric of that program, and it's because of Irk Russell. It's because of Paul Johnson that our players believe they're supposed to win, and we believed we were supposed to win that game.
Mm-hmm.
And our guys didn't have anything to lose. We just let it all hang out. But I'll tell you that at the time we're an FCS program, we got 63 scholarships in FCS football. We had 19 scholarship players out for the season at that point.
Wow.
So we went into the swamp down 19 scholarship players at an FCS school.
Wow.
And we got down 10-0 in the game. So it didn't start out great for us, but our guys, they were there for a fight. And we just kept battling, and we tied the game up, and we're running our old school triple option. And we got a freshman quarterback, Kevin Ellison. Our quarterback, our would-be quarterback, Jarrett McKinnon, who had rushed for 1,800 yards as our quarterback the year before. We had him playing running back. So a bunch of our running backs were in those 19 guys that were out. So we put Jarrett at running back and a freshman quarterback in there to get under center. And we just battled our butts off.
Right.
And we found a way to take the lead. And then at the very end of the game, when we needed some plays, we made them. We hit a big touchdown run out of Jarrett McKinnon on a toss play into the boundary, took the lead, and then Florida battled back and battled their way back down and had the ball in a red zone to end the game. And we had a big stop on 4th down to end the game. And what an incredible victory and a moment for college, for that college, for Georgia Southern, for our team. And it's a memory all of us will take with us forever. And it was a great win. And we were very fortunate to win the game. They're very talented, very well coached. And it was a great victory. So for a tough season where we weren't eligible to play in the playoffs or play in a bowl game, to finish the season like that was, man, just so happy for our players, particularly our seniors and our coaching staff. It was a great accomplishment.
And Coach, beating an opponent like that is the equivalent of winning a bowl game or a playoff game.
Well, it was, they asked me after the game, they said, is this the biggest win in program history? And I reminded them that the Georgia Southern's won 6 national championship games. So it would be hard to compare any victory in the same conversation with a national championship victory. And I still hold that to be true. The playoffs are such big victories. Oh, yeah. That was a season in itself, just that game, and an accomplishment in itself. The playoffs are different, a bowl game's different, but for a team like we had at Georgia Southern, which was at the time still considered what they say, quote unquote, a small school, to go in there to Florida and win that game, it was a great win. And we had some opportunities to play teams like that, as you and I had talked about, going into Tuscaloosa in 2011 with our Georgia Southern team, and we had a really good Georgia Southern team, very talented for our level, and to play a team like Alabama at Alabama, what a great opportunity, a challenge, and they beat the pants off us. But our guys played hard and played tough and battled, and even in that game in 2011, Alabama was the national champions that year. Our players believed they were supposed to win, and we went into the fail room, that locker room that's so aptly named. And I will tell you that our players were disappointed. They thought they were supposed to win, but that is what gave us the opportunity and gave us a chance. No matter who we played, it gave us a chance to win every week, and so I think just that mindset and who we were as a program really helped us beat Florida that afternoon in November.
So, Coach Monken, in 2014, you became the 37th head coach at Army. How did that opportunity come about? And talk about what that meant to you to become the head coach of the Army Black Knights.
Well, as I understand it, Boo Corrigan, who was the AD at the time, called Paul Johnson and said, Paul, who do we need to consider for this job?
Right.
I had interviewed for the Army job in 2008, our first year at Georgia Tech with Coach Johnson. The Army job came open, and I was fortunate enough to be able to interview for the job. They hired Rich Ellerson at the time. Rich Ellerson actually, if we kind of turn the clock back, when Paul Johnson was the offensive coordinator at Hawaii, Rich Ellerson was the defensive coordinator at Hawaii. So I worked with both of them as a GA. So Rich was my predecessor here. So he took the job going into the 2009 season. And so when Army made a change after the 2013 season, they called Paul, and he recommended that they talk to me. And he called me and said, I think that Army's going to call you and talk to you about the job if you're interested. And I certainly was interested in talking with them. My experience with Paul at another academy, you can't help but feel a sense of patriotism when you work at one of our academies. And so I did have the opportunity to interview for the job, and I know that they were interviewing some great candidates, but having had the experience at another academy and having had some experience as a head coach, I think really helped me. Mm-hmm. And so I think it was right at the time. I was the right person for Army at the time. Fortunately, they felt I was and offered me the opportunity to take the job here, and I was honored to do so. Very sad to leave Georgia Southern, our friends, those players, the program, but there's a calling here, and it is with a sense of patriotism that you take these jobs. And so I was able to come here and be the coach in 2014. And when you take over a program that hasn't been winning and you find early struggles, sometimes you wonder why you made the decision to do what you did. But obviously 12 years later, I'm glad that I did and fortunate that I did.
So, Coach Monken, talk about how you go about juggling your practice times around your players with them training to serve our country, please.
People are surprised sometimes to know that West Point is much more like a traditional college than they anticipate. Our students, our cadets are here to earn a world-class degree. They are here to do that. And that's the most important piece of what they do while they're here. They spend more time with their academics than anything that they do here.
Right.
It is also to prepare them for a life of service when they graduate. And there's a 5-year service commitment that comes with graduating from an academy. Many of them will serve beyond those 5 years, but a lot will serve their 5 years and then will go into the private sector, public sector, and serve their communities and serve in different ways. Right. But while they are here, the obligations from a military standpoint, they're not doing military training on a daily basis. Okay. There are professional standards. They wear a uniform. All the military protocols in terms of the respect for senior officers and those kinds of things. There's a system set up here that's been in place since 1802 when we started the school, that our cadets lead and run this school. The seniors, who are called our firsties or first class cadets, they run the school under the guidance of officers and non-commissioned officers in the United States Army to help them. But then the juniors, or our cows, and the sophomores, who are our yearlings or yucks, our freshmen, who are plebes. Right. There's a system of leadership and of following those leaders that help prepare them for their life in the military. They all do military training in the summer. Everybody does mandatory military training in the summer. Our players do that training in the summer. And then there are other times throughout the year where they will do some team building exercises that involve some military training, but that's not part of their daily life. So they're here as students, and they're here as cadets, they're here as cadet athletes. So we have a block of time carved out for each of our sports. We've got 30 sports that compete at an NCAA level here, and they all have time daily to get workouts in, meetings, and our guys do too. Like a traditional college, we have meetings and lifts and workouts and practices and treatments and film time, and we do get the time that other colleges do with our players, and that's, we're fortunate that we can work that out. Now it's a stress on our guys because we extract several hours of the day out of their schedule, and our guys are, people say, oh, it's not rocket science. At West Point, it's rocket science. Our guys are actually taking rocket science here.
Right.
So the classes are hard, and they got to study a lot. And so extracting that time out of their day takes away from that study time. So our guys have to be masters of time management and prioritizing what needs to get done each day. But that helps prepare them for leadership. Leaders are stressed and stretched to the limit. And so that strain and stress on them is, though it's hard at the time, it's good for them. And so we do get the time, and we demand the time of them, because if we don't, we're not going to be competitive.
Right.
And we want to have competitive success and be able to go onto a field and take on an opponent and win. And so our guys balance it, but the academy also does a good job of creating ways for us and times for us to do that.
Coach Monken from the Army Black Knights is my guest this evening. Coach, please describe for us what game day is like for America's game, that is the Army versus Navy rivalry game, please.
There's nothing like that game. There's no rivalry like it. And there are some great rivalries. There's an Iron Bowl that's played down there in your parts. Ohio State and Michigan certainly are proud of their rivalry. But there is nothing like the Army-Navy rivalry. The history of it, the intensity of it. I think everybody wants to feel good, like, before the game and after the game, we're going to stand arm in arm, and it's this great camaraderie. It is a hated rivalry. We want to beat them in everything that we do, and they're the same. They want to beat us. And it is the most intense competition I've ever been a part of. From the opening kickoff to the final horn, every play, it feels like the entire game is hanging in the balance.
Right.
And it's a great rivalry because of the competition and the fight that's going to happen between those lines. But it's a great rivalry because it represents our men and women that serve. And for the 22 players on the field, their teammates on the sidelines, and the almost 9,000 cadets and midshipmen that are in the stands cheering on their respective teams, every one of those young men and women have made a pledge of commitment to this nation, to serve this nation, and to ultimately know that they may go into the most difficult of circumstances and have to pay the ultimate price for the freedoms of everybody that's watching that game. The 75,000 are there in the stands with them, and the 9 million that are watching on TV, and the other 320 million who aren't watching the game. They're gonna put their lives on the line
Right.
for the freedoms of those people. That makes it a game like no other, a rivalry
Yes.
like no other. And I'm proud to be a part of it. And I've been a part of 17 of those games, and
Wow.
it's really an awesome opportunity. And every one of them is a game on its own, and it
Mhm.
never gets old. It's always the same feeling. You get that chicken skin every time you walk in the stadium for one of those, and
Right.
just awesome.
So, Coach, I've just got a few questions left for you. The first one, now, regardless of political affiliation, how special is it for a sitting president to attend the Army-Navy game and be on the field with you guys?
Well, that is one of the special things about the Army Navy game, and I've had, as I said, I've been in 17 of those games. So I've had an opportunity to see several presidents attend those games and be in the locker room with our teams before and after those games, and I mean, what a thrill! So really special, but I think it speaks to the magnitude of that rivalry, and
Right.
that those presidents that have come feel compelled to be there for America's game, and so it's been pretty special for our players, particularly to be able to shake hands with the president, stand next to a president. That's a lifetime memory, and a lifetime moment that most people don't ever get a chance to experience.
Now, Coach Monken, you guys are coming off an 11-win season, but you almost didn't get to play in a bowl game last year because Marshall had to pull out of that bowl game. Talk about that whole thing surrounding potentially missing an 11-win bowl experience.
Well, it was a little unnerving. I actually found out right before the Army Navy game started. There was this rumbling, and our AD said, "Yeah, they backed out," and it was just after the Army Navy game, and of course dealing with the fallout of that. It was a tough day for us. Then to kind of transition and say, okay, how did all this transpire? It speaks to where we're at in the world of college sports right now. And for our players who make a great commitment to their sport, to this country, to the purity of college football, they deserve an opportunity to play in a bowl game. I'm glad that the Independence Bowl and college football was able to come through and find an opponent for us. But that's to think that one a conference champion, a top 25 team,
Right.
and a service academy could find themselves without a postseason game is a little bit scary. And it could have been anybody, not just us. It could have been anybody. But to be in that position, to have the season that we had, and to know that, hopefully, we're going to get some guardrails on this and ensure that that there will be games to play. But I'm thankful to Louisiana Tech for taking that on, because they didn't have to do it. And from what I'm told, there were many teams that were approached about playing in that game and playing against us, that turned us down. Even teams that were 5-7,
Right.
that they would have made an exception for, turned it down. Power 4 teams, and so thankfully, Louisiana Tech, who was right down the road, and were able to do it. They played in the game, so we certainly wanted to honor them with the way we played and try to play the game really hard and really well. Unfortunately, we did it well enough to win.
So, Coach Monken, briefly, if you would, coming off of the 11-win season, give us a quick preview of this year's team in 2025.
Well, we got a bunch of guys back that I really like and believe in, but we lost some terrific players out of our senior class. Starting with our quarterback, who set an NCAA record for most rushing touchdowns by a quarterback with 32 this year. 3 starters on our offensive line. They won the Joe Moore Award, which is the top offensive line in the country. It's the first time ever for a service academy, and man, they were tough and rugged and did a great job for our team. But we lost some really key players in other positions as well, defensively and in special teams. And so that's college football.
Right.
You can't sign them to a new contract when they get done with their eligibility. Their eligibility is done. That's it. So we've worked really hard this offseason to grow the leadership on our team. We got some good players coming back, but every new team is a different personality, and so we're going to find out here in July, late July, just what we're all about and what kind of leadership we really have and what kind of team we're going to have. We're going to have a new quarterback and a new reformed offensive line and new guys in key positions on defense, and they're going to have to step up. But I believe they will. I trust our players. I trust our coaches, and I'm excited about this season. It's one of the great things about college football is just not knowing what it's going to be, and the responsibility we all have as part of the team to help build it. And so we're looking forward to it. I know this. Our guys will play hard. They're going to fight their butts off every single Saturday they play. And when people turn the TV on and watch Army, they're going to see a bunch of football players that love the game, play for each other, play for the brand, play for their country, and they're going to play physical and play really, really hard.
So, Coach, to wrap this up, what does the 4th of July mean to you, and how will you be celebrating it this Friday?
The 4th of July is a day for our entire country to just appreciate the freedoms that we have and to celebrate the nation that we are.
Yes.
I love that we have a Memorial Day to remember our men and women who have paid the ultimate price, who have shed their blood for this nation and paid the ultimate price for the freedoms of our country. I love that we have a Veterans Day, which allows us to honor our men and women who have served, who currently serve, their families. But I also love that we have a day that celebrates our nation, just the nation that we are. And, we as a nation have shortcomings, like we as a football program have shortcomings. We've all got improvements we need to make in our families, in our lives, in our organizations, and we continuously try to improve and better the United States of America. And that's part of what makes us who we are and makes us such a special country, that we recognize that we're a work in progress. But man, this is a great country. It's the greatest of all countries. And I don't say that braggadociously. I say it with pride.
Yes.
And we have an American people who are free to worship as they want to have values as they see fit for them and their families, to travel, to work, to be educated, to have equal rights with every other citizen. And man, are we fortunate to be in a country like that, because there are a lot of places around this globe that folks don't enjoy those same freedoms. And so together we can celebrate this nation that we are, and also to recognize the things that we can do together to make this nation even better, and to create a country that will be the great nation it is for the generations to follow us. So it's an awesome day. I'll be celebrating that with my family,
Yes.
watching fireworks, cooking some good meat on the grill, and just enjoying some time away and some time with my family. Our players have an opportunity to get away this week and just recharge their batteries, which would be great for them. And then after the holiday, we're going to be anxious to get back here and get back to work.
Yes, sir. So, Coach, thank you for this amazing interview. I have thoroughly enjoyed interviewing you. The floor is all yours for anything else that you would like to say this evening.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity, Stingray. It's an honor for me to talk about West Point, to represent West Point, and join your program, and hopefully we created a few more Army fans out there. I always say that no matter where you're from, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, or anywhere in the state that cheers for one of those teams there's state universities all over the country, and people seem to be pretty loyal to their home state teams or their alma maters, but everybody can cheer for Army. Yes. And everybody can be a fan of their home state team or their alma mater, mm-hmm. and be a fan of Army. So we are America's team, and like your Alabama's team, we're America's team. So hopefully we created some fans of America's team today. And again, thanks for the opportunity, and beat Navy.
Yes, sir, Coach. I will leave you with this. Go Army, beat Navy. Let's go. Coach, thank you, and happy 4th of July, okay?
Same. It's my pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for the interview there with Coach Jeff Monken. Really do want to thank him for taking time out of his schedule to join me.